Moment of truth, guys. Let's see if the door we just built opens. Nope. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Yes. Check that out. First time. Yeah. We have no stop. We have no stop. Now this is an issue. Our little block fell out. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Let's see if it closes. Okay, the back is sprung a little bit. We're gonna have to create some more shape in here. This, the reason it's binding, is this point has to come out a little more. I'm not worried about that, that's fine. I can handle that. Maybe we can do something right now. Slapper. Let's give it a stretch. Yeah. A little better. I'm going to have to hammer that out when we get the door, I think, off the car, because all I'm doing is just bending this whole area, and that's not good. Oh, see, better already. So we'll leave that for now. That's good. Look at that. Wow. Now we can go ahead and depress these holes inward using this 4140 chunk of steel I borrowed from the machine shop and a center punch or a drift punch. And I will line up from this side and give it a smack and depress it just a little bit. Okay, that's centered. Let's get another clamp on it, just make sure. I don't want to depress it off center and then have the fastener sit crooked. Get a screw. Pop it in the hole. We need to depress a little bit more. Much better. Okay. So there we go, it closed. We have a nice gap at the top. Moment of truth, let's see if this thing will open. Something's rubbing, but that was that nose point there, the feature point at the front of the door. It opened, it closed, it closed, it opened. I am happy. Do I sound happy? Yeah, I'm happy. Snap, snap. That's it. A little bit of spring there, that's okay. We're gonna have to adjust this flange. Actually, the bottom's out a little bit, like that. And we have to kind of clean this up. You know, that's the fine tuning part. Everything's done in that area. What I need to do is find out exactly where. I'm gonna go check the other door and see how close to the skin this sits. It's kind of concerning that it's this close. So it's a good thing we have the second door, otherwise it'd be a lot more prototyping. I'd get a temporary skin in place, see where that sits, and yeah, so let me check that. So unless I show you how this sits on the other door, if I tell you, you're not gonna believe me. Let's go for a walk. Walking, walking, walking. Trunk lid, walking. This is a note to myself that I have to do a little correction on that panel. But you see where the imprint is there? See, this one broke. We gotta fix that. The pin seized, it's still seized, so we have to kind of rebuild this unit. Up here, Nick. If we line up those holes like that, check that out right there. Look how close, there, sorry about that. Look how close to the skin we're sitting. That is identical to the other side. And where my thumb is right there, that kind of, I'm exaggerating, but that kind of sits out like that. And it sits out like that on the other one as well. So that means I can take and scribe those holes onto that back flange, back plate, and we can go ahead, drill it, find some fasteners because I only have three. Three are missing somewhere, perhaps in all that junk that we emptied out of the trunk. Anyway, it's a standard bolt. We'll get another 3, cut the length, installed, and locate this here trigger. The front of this door has been gapped. That's all done. That's great up there. Power window packs are in. Unfortunately, you can see the adjustment we created, the flanges, so that we have in and out as well as forward and back adjustment. Same with that one down there. So you can move it on that hole, forward, back, up, down, whatever. And then there's a nut that you can adjust it in and out to fine tune and make sure that that sits. This is going to be glass later on, of course. Haha. The glass will have a little bit of weight, so that will settle and that'll close in on the seal. Oops, sorry guys. And that will close in on the seal up there on the trim. That's the cutoff off that main section. That's how much we pulled out of this body. So we've shortened it. Now I just need to redo the front. The front has a little tab that have to be bent out for the attachment point at the front there. And the rest is factory original. Door check, check. Fender mounted with an aftermarket spacer kit. So done that on both sides. We've adjusted, see, fixed this arch, pulled it back. So a lot of stuff happened. This window regulator is mounted, brackets created, just need to wire it. You see, it comes in close to the skin, but doesn't stick out. And the motor, well, we've tucked that in. The other side still has to be bent in. Oh, I don't need this over here. So, see, we check one thing and kind of get distracted on several other things. Just stuff I want to show you. So this one here, track has to come out because the window is actually bumping on the inside of that panel. See how the motor is sticking out past the skin? this drive, we need to tuck that in. So just very gingerly bend it inward. That's all good. Locations are identical from side to side. That's fantastic. And now I guess with the latch in place, we get that latch up there mounted. We finish off this in here. Door handle, I'll take care of that later. I want to start looking at getting the skin on here. Come on, there we go. I put some muscle into it. And there we have it. Latch, strike, bang, snap, snap, closed. Well, what we're doing right now, I've taken some Sharpie, kind of spread it around on the panel. I've gotten one screw in place just to hold this so it doesn't keep moving around. You try scratching or marking 3 holes without bolting it or without fixing, without clamping it, it's going to move around. So we got one in, screwed it down tight, and now I've marked the other 2. I'll take this off, drill the other 2 holes. Okay. It's a lively one this morning. I will have to elongate these holes to give us some adjustability on the latch so that we can adjust it. Last thing I want to do is be filing this when it's all painted. That's good. Make sure the bolt fits right on. Now these bolts are obviously too long. They will bottom out in that little bracket. So just trim them down a little bit to the length. We'll get little lock washers under these later on. Right now we're just mocking things up. Moving ahead. You can spend the time on the little details later. First things first, get this bolted in place. Interesting. Right on. Okay. We need to drift. Even though it was bolted in place, I did drift on the holes just a smidgen. I'm off by 1/4 of a hole, and if I don't get that thread started just right, we're going to mess up our brackets. So I can start slotting the holes right now, just a little bit. So I say one thing, and that one thing ends up evolving. So we've got to file, we've got to find a file. Dremel would be way too fast. These have to be slotted along this plane, because if I slot this way, it'll bump the skin and won't give us the adjustability. Right on. Little tip for the newbies, start all your bolts first and then reef her down. Reef one down, the other ones won't or might not align properly. Come on. Yes, I'm using a Robertson. In Canada, we have this square deal for a screwdriver. I don't have any Phillips head screws like the other side. So if a Chrysler thief, I guess, decides to steal the door latches, because these are quite rare, they won't get both sides. They'll need a Robertson screwdriver for this side. And there we have it. That's weird. Click, click, and it's shut. That's not good. Why is it not unlatching? Needs a little bit more. That's why we need the adjustability on the holes. I pulled it up tight, took the slack out, but you actually have to raise this up a little bit more to start actually activating the latch. There's play in it, see that? Play in here, I guess, from use. Okay, we'll have to slot the holes a little more. Give me a second to get that done. And then I guess we can move on to whatever's on the list. Probably power window tracks. Okay, bolt number 3, done. Let's see how this latches. Should latch no problem. Snap, snap, perfect. Okay. See, on these old latches, you've got this much play on the door because of the door seals that they accounted for later on. So we have to make sure that when we're lining all the panels up, it's not lined up in the wrong spot, and then when we get the skins on or whatever, we have problems with the bottom sticking out or the side sticking out. That wouldn't be a good thing. This will get solidified once I finish the top corner. Let's see if the LF filing, actually I did take the Dremel to it very carefully in the last little bit to move the hole over. So we have full adjustability, I'll show you in a second. We have full adjustability and we have a door. See, that's sticking. So we need to lubricate that, rebuild them, clean them up. There we go. On the 51 Ford, you saw I got rid of the old latching systems because this a little finicky to deal with. But with this car, we're trying to keep as much of the original spirit as possible. I just closed the door, look at that. Let's try it again, maybe it was a fluke. Beautiful. Okay. Let's take a quick look over here. See, we slide those holes, and you might say, hey, oh, you can see the bottom of the hole, that's not good. See these holes? We have, actually they're larger than the other side, which means we have more slop from side to slide. Didn't want that. In that case, the bolt is a lot more tight, but the slot is upright, just like this one here. Not sure what that hole is for. Maybe an old track or something. We'll fill that. And we have to clean this up, and you see the radius up in here to solidify the top of the door. We need to do the same thing over there. Before I get into window tracks, I think we're going to install the actuator for the power locks. That's going to sit somewhere in there, so we have to make up a mount bracket for that. Maybe even use that, we'll see. And we'll get this lock mounted. We'll try it, the power lock. It actuates the lever right there. That's your lock. So on the outside, when you had the key before, it would actuate that. Maybe the passenger side didn't have a key, I don't know. Driver's side did. I know Ford's had a key on one side, passenger side I believe, not the driver's side. You know, chivalry was at its finest at that time. So we can lock the door from the inside. When you activate the handle, it would actually unlock the door at the same time. So let me get that actuator situated where it's going to sit. We don't want it interfering with the outside skin, like the other side's all done. So now it's just a matter of copying and then we'll get the window tracks in. Got the back one in, we'll get that window slid up all the way. We'll move that template onto this side and get this one sliding up and down. See how fast that goes? Let's give it some power and see if it works. Just finished mounting it. Make sure you get the polarity right. Blue is negative. I don't know, we'll find out. Actually, you flip polarity to actuate this thing, so that's locked. And that's open. Kind of a hiccup. I think we need to either charge the battery or lubricate this latch. I think that's what it is. So that pivot pin is actually worn. Or we have to move our pickup point in closer. Yeah, that's what it is. No problem. I have one tack there, one on the back side, break those off, trim this bracket off, move this over so we're not acting on the bolt pin. At this point, we're moved in a little tighter. All this has to be accessed from within these holes here. We won't have the luxury of pulling the skin off every time we got to fix something inside the door. It's important to get it right the first time. Slides out. Okay, that's good. Let me cut those tacks. We'll move this bracket in tighter so it's not rotating. And the other thing is when we rebuild these latches, we'll go through and tighten all the pins up. Not too tight because you need to have the thing move to be free. But this is a lot of slop. So if I move it in tighter, it means we gotta cut some material off. Chop, chop. The other side worked well. I don't think it has as much slop though. And for a passenger door, it seems to have more wear than the driver's door. Just checking the driver's latch. This one has way more play than this one. This one's tighter. It's not really tight, but it's enough. And the whole point is to make sure that you're pulling on this. The more you extend out, the more bend, twist you're gonna get. But we will tighten that up. That is an easy thing. All right, let's weld this bracket back on. I need to reassemble it, weld it back on, try it. If it works, we move on. I think red is blue, black is green. Look at that, perfect. Little bit of hesitation, but not too bad. Let's try it the other way. We're gonna have to lubricate this latch. It's pretty dry. So once we do that, adjust that pin, it should work perfectly. We have up and down motion, everything's good. There is a little bit of play within this solenoid, and they provided a little rod thing for a different orientation. I like to get this point in as close as possible, if possible, to the latch. In this case, it's going to work out quite well, and we have room for the skin to go by. There's about 3/8 of an inch. I had a straight edge, put it across the door. It's good. So you undo these two bolts and just slide this thing out. You don't even need a nut on this pin. Behold the beauty of a hardtop power window system. They go down at a little different rate because of friction, but let's see if it goes up now. If I can get some power going. All right, let's pull this out. So. Now, because of friction on this one, this is masonite rubbing in those felts, it went up a little bit slower than I expected. I was hoping to have them both come up at the same time. With glass, I think we'll be fine. So I'm going to bring it up all the way, and we're going to do a little bit of a walk around. Yeah, that one's a bit high now. We've got to fine tune things. I have spent the past, I don't know how many hours, it's close, leave it at that and disconnect the battery. How many hours working on this here side. We've got the driver's side done a little bit earlier, so I kind of transposed all the dimensions, everything that had to be done onto this side. And well, we have two windows that go up and down quite well. Like if I just do this one, or the back one or the other, we have, let's take these jumpers off before I get electrocuted. We have a really trick system. You gotta bear with me. Oh, that's the wrong way, Nick. Let's go this way. Yes. There's no fuzzies, no guides up here yet. We're just relying on the tracks and the spacing. So, you know, we gotta work with what we have. So that's down, that's actually below down. There's gonna be a chrome piece here, so that's down below. I have to remove that trim piece, reinsert the rubber past a little rivet that they used to have, or that they have, to hold the two pieces together. Oh no! There. See what I mean? It's crystallized, so it's really hard. Go up to the top. There, and it seals. Look at that. Okay, here we can do this one. You know how many times I've gone up and down to make sure it worked before turning the camera on? There we go. Down and now up. So, if you recall the original doors, they really moaned and groaned. All right, so I got the jumpers on. Things are a little bit oxidized, so it may not go the first time around. Let's give this a shot, see what happens. Prove me wrong. There we go. That's down. And I go to this wire here. It's been broken off. Let's go up. Pretty cool, but not as cool as what you're about to see on this one. Ooh. It doesn't sound too good, doesn't sound too healthy, but that motion, I always get a kick out of it doing what it does. Let me know what you think. Put it down in the comments. Let's see if it goes up now. Not too bad, kind of slow, groany, but you get the idea. We have a little bit of a moan because that little motor, it's not even warm yet. It's working against all the friction between the masonite and the felts. I need the felts in there to make sure the guide works. This is 1/4 inch masonite, same as a 1/4 inch glass that we're gonna have cut to go in. So this is, you know, this is it. We've got it done, we've got it working. It seals at the top. There's gonna be a seal up here, so that's why it doesn't come up all the way. There's gonna be that chrome piece, original chrome piece, and the rubber. Up front here, we have to make a piece, a trim piece, that's gonna blend into the chrome, and that'll actually hold the glass in, because the last thing you want is the wind and rain and whatever getting in through here. You don't want bugs squeezing through either. That wouldn't be good. So instead of me holding the camera and kind of shaking from time to time, because you know, I've been on my feet quite a while here, this door doesn't look anything like the driver's door. The perimeter, the important stuff, yes, that matches perfectly. However, this area in here is different. I didn't go through and press those sections out and all that stuff that the driver's door had. I simplified it because I would have been here another month doing all that stuff. It got to the point, everything was lined up, the door latch, open, close, you saw that, really sweet. Let's open and close it, just for fun. There we go. And it latches shut. So that's all good. In regards to the tracks, The reason I didn't have you guys stand over my shoulder and watch me as I set the tracks up is because it took a lot of concentration to make sure that everything worked out precisely. This template, as well as this one, work on the driver's side perfectly. What we have here is the same as on the other side. We don't have to trim or get 4 pieces of glass, separate pieces of glass cut, just 2 per side. Back, 2 back ones, 2 front ones, identical. So once the driver's side was established, I went through and started at the back here and got the quarter window working, oriented, and lining up to where it had to be. Yeah, that space is because of the rubber. Then we came into the front one. I started at the front, aligned myself with the A-pillar, set this track up. These are going to be cut off. This I just let run wild so that I can clamp things and kind of situate things. Once the front one was established, then I went to the back to make sure that the plane lined up with this window here. So we have a continuous glass surface, continuous up and down plane from front to back, back to front. This rear window does not have a track because of this trim piece. So at the back we're guided, at the front we're going to rely on the fuzzies to bring us up into position. That's fine. This regulator, this was a bit of a head scratcher. Driver's door with all those steps and insets and protrusions and all that stuff, it adds some strength to the inner door panel. This one here was just a flat sheet with these little recessed areas and holes. So I was looking at a way of mounting the regulator as well as the inside door handle that you pull on in such a way that when you pull the door, you don't affect this mechanism. The last thing you want to do is give it a pull and snap the glass. That wouldn't be good. So I kind of looked up at the heavens and thought about ceiling channel. So I created one. Front to back ties into this 16 gauge at the front. The back corner here still has to be welded. Put a few tacks in there. That solved our rigidity problem in the center. Like, that's darn strong. I was going to use another word, but that's darn strong. Off of that, we can then create a plate and pick up the regulator. And look at that. Like, I can yank on the door and that's not moving in any way. So we're going to get those little brackets that the factory had for their door handles, remount it from the other side. That's done. Mounted the center, got the angle, mounted the bottom. All these track brackets are adjustable. There's a nut on the inside, tacked to the bracket, and as you turn it, the nut allows that bracket to move in and out. Top, bottom, so that's all good. Now, if you say, well, Nick, you didn't show us how to install a power window system. What do I do for my hot rod? The biggest thing to pay attention to is the fact that flat glass doesn't like major changes in orientation. So because we chopped the roof, we lowered it, it increased the angle of the top, which meant the bottom of the tracks had to come out. This comes down in a single plane and yet stays within the door cavity. That's why the straight edge is here. We can chop these channels off if we want to, but we have 1/2 inch space there, tons of space here, and perfect space here. These windows come back on a plane. So you have to make sure that that plane is continuous, front to back, with all your tracks. Set your tracks, put the regulator in after the fact. Figure out a way to mount that, however you want to mount that. The tracks are the most important. Once you have the windows aligned and going up and down on their own, well, the masonite, without the regulator, then you can work with the regulator in. And the other biggest thing to remember is make sure the door is solid. Find a way to reinforce it on the inside. Like, there's no way we can add other reinforcement. Well, I guess we could, but we're not going to. Chrysler didn't have it in '56, so we're going to try and keep it original to a certain degree. But there we go. I need to make one more bracket. Just realized that here. Got so excited with this whole system up here. I have to make sure this track, see that? That's moving in and out. And that's going to be an adjustment too, so that we have no possibility of water going into that space right there. See that? How that comes out? So by pushing that in or adjusting it on the bracket, you can reach in through this hole, we're able to pull this out and hold the seal tight. Now this seal I mentioned is really hard, it's not malleable anymore, so it's not sitting the way it should. I have all brand new seals. Once we cut the glass, then we'll install the new seals and everything is going to be good. These channel runners, they're brand new. I didn't want to mess around with the encrusted old stuff. Can't think of anything else. We have our solenoid for the door release, that works. We have our tracks. I got to trim off these, make sure they're all cleaned up good. Finish welding the structural support member in the middle of the door. Finish welding the bracket, and then we can button everything up. When you're setting your regulator, make sure that it runs parallel with your tracks. If the bottom is more than the ends, it'll suck the glass in and either take it out of the tracks or break your glass. So when you put it up, you'll have all these fine lines through there. It might be kind of hard to see through. This is all going to be tucked away up inside, trimmed off what we don't need. One other thing, somebody mentioned earlier about drain holes. We always create drain holes in the bottom of the door, right along the front edge where it meets the skin, so that any moisture that does get in from the top can just drain out right away. You don't want 4 inches of water sitting in this door. You know, it adds weight to the ride, gets it down low, but it'll eventually rust things out. This door shell has to come off. I need to finish welding a few more things. Perimeter, back edge, this is good. Our release, I'm curious. Jeez. I guess that's a good thing when it works. It is a bit snug. I have to lubricate that and work it free. The other side's actually broken, so we'll have to fix that. But here we are, one door complete. And I wish you guys could feel that because it's effortless. Nothing's binding except for one spot right there that has to be done when the door's off. Haven't gotten to it. Latched and done. So, all right guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a thumbs up. And until next time, take care. I'm gonna go get some rest. This has been quite a job. Next time, probably get onto the door skins. This will all be done. Put the door skins on, button all this up. And the quarter panel sections, get that in. I'm glad I remembered about this because it'd be kind of difficult to reach in from the top and get that. I have a plate here and get that plate mounted. See, my plate is shorter than it needs to be. That gap, because I'm gonna have a bolt that comes through like so, backed up with a nut. It's gonna be loose, it's gonna be a locking nut, and then this gets threaded into this bracket here, and that's gonna allow things to sit. See how that pops out like that? So that's what we need. So, okay, take care guys. Go! You got it.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Okay.
I'm curious to see if we can take it around the block. So there we go. 8 inches taken out of the frame. Let's stand back here and take a look. Yeah. She looks pretty short. Really, Nick? Duh. Chop most of the car up. All right, guys, we got the body sections up on the chassis. It actually doesn't look too bad.